Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Okay, let's start this verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nishtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Give me just 1 minute. My screen visible. Our journey so far, and today is a very important day. I'm very glad those of you who are able to join today, because in a journey, sometimes when you are traveling, you need some encouragement, you need some strength, you need some invigorating people who can enthuse you, and not temporarily but permanently. So today we are very fortunate to celebrate Balaram Jayanti. So today's journey, basically we will try to understand the significance of Lord Balaram, or what is the importance of Balaram in your life. Okay. So let's start. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right, good. So today's session, we will talk about Lord Balaram, and not many people know the importance of Lord Balaram. And sometimes we think Krishna is our worshipable Lord. Why Balaram? Or what is the necessity for Balaram? If you see this picture closely, this is what is our journey to Janmshtami logo, right? You know, Balaram and Krishna together, and how wonderful. Actually, to speak about Balaram in 1 hour time is also a challenge. But let's focus on some aspects of Balaram and his mercy on us. There is a verse in Bhagavad Gita in the 3rd chapter where Krishna says, Indriyas arthe raga dvesho vyavastito tayornavasam agachet tauhi asya paripantino. This verse is in 3rd chapter, 34th verse. Indriyas raga dvesho vyavastito tayornavasam agachet tauhi asya paripantino. So you can look at this verse later on, but a very important verse. Basically, Krishna says attraction and repulsion for sense objects are felt by embodied beings. Embodied beings is all of us. So there is attraction when we get attracted to some sense objects, and there is repulsion. Raga and Dvesha, the words which are used specifically. Attraction and repulsion for sense objects are felt by embodied beings. But one should not fall under the control of senses and sense objects because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. You see, we talk about this path of devotion, which is susukham kartum abhyayam, joyfully performed, and it's a fact that anybody who stays in this path of bhakti will remain blissful. But often the challenge comes to stay in the path of bhakti. And the challenge comes because indriyasyarthe raga dvesho vyavastito. Being embodied, that's a given choice. I mean, that's not a choice. It is given. We are all embodied. The soul has accepted this body. Being embodied, we have attraction and repulsion for sense objects. Some of the sense objects attract us, some of the sense objects repel us. So this attraction and repulsion is a natural thing for embodied soul. And sometimes, people say, what to do, Prabhuji, I am like that only. I mean, I have got this bad habits, I can't help it, you manage. But here Krishna is telling actually, tayorna vasam agachet tauhi asya paripantino. One should not fall under the control of senses and sense objects because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. One should not fall under just because we are embodied and we have certain weakness. We should not say that we will remain subservient to these weaknesses. What to do? I'm a servant of anger. I'm a servant of lust. I'm a servant of greed. I don't know, Prabhuji. No, actually, they are paripantino. They are actually stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. What that means is one has to overcome these things. All these anarthas, especially this attraction and repulsion for sense objects, has to be overcome. And very beautiful purport. For lack of time, I will not read, but I want you to read this. I say this for many of these purports, but if you're really sincere, you should read this and see how Prabhupada writes that Krishna consciousness can convert, can transform us, can purify us from all these anarthas, provided we follow it properly. So today, on the auspicious appearance day of Balaram Jayanti and the time that we have together, let's spend some time understanding who is Balaram, what is his importance in our life, and what should we pray to him on this day. So today's session is dedicated to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada, during his presence in this material world, have given a lot of principles, a lot of important instructions. But there are 4 principles which Prabhupada repeats at various places, and they are mostly known to the devotees practicing this path of devotion. What Prabhupada says is, let's come to this later. First thing which Prabhupada says is, books are the basis. So that is why Prabhupada very painstakingly has written all these wonderful transcendental books So if somebody has to speak something, our basis is this books. Books are the basis because they are directly, coming from Krishna, apaurushaya, and Prabhupada has presented them in a manner which we can understand, appreciate, and utilize in our life. So books are the basis. Utility is the principle. Everything needs to be used for Krishna's service, Krishna's purpose. Not that we shun away from material things or we avoid those things. No, utility is the principle. Utilize everything for Krishna's purpose, Krishna's sake. Preaching is the essence. The purpose of creating this worldwide movement was not just to live an easy and lazy life. No. The whole idea is to preach this message of Krishna, because Krishna himself says one who is spreading this message, one who is who's an instrument in spreading this message is very dear to me, because the reason for Krishna's descent to this material world is very specific, and that needs to be shared to all these conditioned living entities who are suffering here. So preaching is the essence. And the last one which Prabhupada says is, purity is the force. So I have highlighted the word force in a different color. As we read this verse now, tayorna vasamagacche tauhi asya paripanthino, means these are stumbling blocks in the path of self-realization. So if somebody says, I'm practicing devotion, but I have all these problems, what to do? I'm like that. My body is like that. I can't help it. No. Prabhupada says, purity is the force. One needs to purify one's existence. And when this word force is used, sometimes, some people say that we are taking non-veg because we need some strength, bodily strength. Or we are doing some exercises, we are going to gym, or we are going to some yoga classes, building our muscles. After all, we need that. We need to be strong. But this force which Prabhupada is talking over here is something different. That is not obtained by taking non-veg, going to gym, or doing some yoga, building muscles, or doing some, dumbbells. That's not going to work. Purity is the force. And that force is referring to spiritual force. And that spiritual force is given by Balaram. He is the giver of that spiritual force. Interestingly, in the morning today, we read one quote, Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, Naham Atma Balahinena Labhya. Naham Atma Balahinena Labhya. So if we want Krishna, this Atma is referring to the super soul. If we want to achieve that Lord, if that is what is our goal, Naham Atma Balahinena Labhya. You cannot get that without the spiritual force, without the spiritual Bala. And you see, there is always a pull from the material world to keep us under the influence of material nature. Even if we have taken to this process of devotion, we have many stumbling blocks. Tauhyasya paripanthino. These are big stumbling blocks. So unless we have the strength to overcome this pull of this material world, we will remain entrapped here. And then Bala, to practice devotion, to get out of this influence of material attraction, comes from Balaram. So very important personality, and there is a lot of wonderful description about Balaram in Bhagavatam. But we can only discuss that much, that time that we have. Otherwise, it is so interesting. Let's start with this song by Jayadev, which says, which is called the Sabathara Stotram. And then we'll read the translation and go directly to some of the pastimes of Lord Balaram, which is related to our life, which is relevant for us. Vahasi bapusi bisade vasanam jaladabham alahati bhiti milita yamunabham keshavadhreta haladhara rupa jai jagadisha hare jai jagadisha hare jai jagadisha hare. So basically, there are Dasavatara which is mentioned, and in that, the mention of Haladhara Rupa, which is Balaram, is also given. I just read this particular stanza, and we will see the meaning, and then we will go. So Jayadev is saying, "O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, Keshava Dhrita Haladhara Rupa." So it is the Keshava, Lord Krishna, who's accepting different forms. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Balaram, the yielder of the prowl, all glories to you. On your brilliant white body, you wear garments the color of a fresh blue rain cloud. Vahasi bapusi bishade vasanam jaladabham. So on the body of Balaram, he is wearing a blue dress, fresh blue rain cloud. Jalada is cloud. Vapusi Vishade Vasanam Jaladabham. The Vasana, the dress of Balaram, is fresh blue rain cloud. These garments are colored like the beautiful dark hue of the river Yamuna, who feels great fear due to the striking of your plowshare. That is Jayadev's glorification of Balaram. We will see something what Bhagavatam talks about of Lord Balaram. So what I want to do today is, the time that we have and the context that I said at the beginning, that how we cannot just say that that's how my life is, my body is, and I have to live with that, I can't help it. No, we should see how we can get purified from this anarthas. And some of the anarthas are actually, in Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in one of his comparisons, he compares this anarthas to the demons which were killed by Balaram. So we'll hear one pastime of Balaram killing one demon, and we will also understand how that represents one of these anarthas and how we can overcome this anartha. So the first one is lust. Lust is, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asks this question, Atha kena prayuktoyam papam charati purusha anichannapi vasneya baladiva niyojitaha. Atha kena prayuktoyam papam charati purusha. By what one is impelled to act sinfully. Atha kena prayuktoyam papam charati purusha. Anichan, I'm not interested. I'm really, I don't want. Anybody who has heard a little bit of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita has understood this. He knows that he should not be indulging in this. But yet, Anichanapi Varsneya Baladiva Nyojita. There is a force which is acting on me to act in that way, to act in that sinful way. And in response to that question, Krishna says, Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhava mahasano mahapapma vidhyena miha vairina. Kama esha krodha esha. It is actually lust only, which is the greatest enemy of all of us, which is there inside us. And if that lust gets unsatisfied, it leads to anger, and it is all devouring. Kamesha, Krodhesha, Rajoguna Samudbhava, Mahasano, Asano is to eat. Mahasano, it is all devouring. Mahapapma, Vidhi Enam Iha Vairinam. This is our worst enemy, dread enemy. So let's see what represents lust and what Balaram did and what should we learn from that. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says this demon, Pralambasur, represents lust. This is a demon which was killed by Balaram. So it's very interesting pastime, and we will go a little quickly so that we understand the essence of it. Once Krishna and Balaram, along with the cowherd boys, every day they used to go to the forest and they will play with these cowherd boys. So they were playing with these cowherd boys, and there were two teams, Krishna's team and Balaram's team. So Krishna's team actually won, and Balaram's team lost this game. And the condition was whoever loses, he has to carry uh, the other team players. So when this was decided, did I say rightly or wrongly? I say rightly. Okay. So basically, what happened? There was this demon by name Pralambasur who came in disguise, and then he was carrying Balaram on his shoulders. And his idea was to take away Balaram and to kill him. So he started running very fast. He took him and he went deep into the forest. And when he was, when Balaram realized that he is doing something, he is up to some trick, he increased his weight. So he slowed down. Pralambasur slowed down, and finally Balaram hit him with a punch, and he got killed. This is the pastime, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, for a reason, says that Pralambasur represents lust. Why he says that, let's see the learnings from this. Actually, I put it in this. If you read this pastime from Krishna book and see the purports which Prabhupada is saying, Prabhupada says duplicitous behavior follows lust. If somebody is duplicitous, what is duplicitous? Means, you want to do something, you tell something, you mean something. So if you are duplicitous behavior follows lust. You see, the idea behind Pralambasur coming and taking Balaram, it was not like, he was just trying to lift him as part of the game. He had some evil intentions and he wanted to kill him. So Prabhupada says duplicitous behavior actually follows lust. So somebody who's trying to overcome the lusty desires, one of the most important thing is to see one's own behavior. If we are duplicitous in our behavior, one may show artificially very humble or humility, but then reality is something else. Right? So understanding our insignificant position in this material world and understanding that we are actually spirit, soul, part and parcel of the Lord is a very important thing. Because, we are strongly in the bodily concept of life, we get this kind of anarthas. We think lust is a problem, but what leads to lust, we don't see that. So if we really want to overcome and we don't want to get into this dreaded enemy of each one of us, then one has to be very careful not to be duplicitous, being very honest and simple and telling what it is and doing that, or facing in one's own life's dealings. I'm like this, and let me understand, these are my problems, these are my anarthas. Let me do something to deal with this. And Prabhupada says the main factor which convinces us to do this is our own mind. That, which convinces that the enjoying propensity should not be given up. The real problem is our own mind only. We're deep within, if we see that if there is some problem, there is some unhappiness, there is something which is bothering us, somewhere there is this feeling that my propensity to enjoy should not be hampered. My senses, my ego, my honor, my name, my fame should be protected first. What people think of me, why they think of me, what if they get to know that I'm not so advanced, or I don't know what it is. There are a lot of these insecurities which arises in the mind, and the mind convinces us that we should not give up this enjoying propensity at any cost. And Prabhupada says mind is like a restless child. So you see, the duplicitous behavior follows lust. And the duplicitous behavior is coming because of the main factor which is in our mind, which convinces us to not to give up this enjoying propensity. And Prabhupada says mind is like a restless child. There was one devotee, I don't want to mention his name, he had, his children were here and he wanted them to sing Narsimha Arati. So the intention is all good. And of course, the devotee wants to say that children they know Narsimha Arati. But unfortunately, the child is so restless. So when the father is asking, why don't you sing? So he or she doesn't sing. And then very restless, can't sit, can't do anything, running here and there. And then finally, somewhere when nobody is around, he's singing. Right? So sometimes our mind is like that. When we are supposed to do something, when we are told to do something, at that time we don't do, we rebel. But much later, when nobody is around, we realize, why we should have done that. I didn't listen at that point in time, and we do it on our own sometimes. So mind is like a restless child. So what is the solution to control our mind? Prabhupada very decisively says, obey the orders of spiritual authority, and one should stop making plans on one's own. Obey the orders of spiritual authority. This particular point, the last point, is very nicely summed up in the verse, which is, its number is not correct. This is 5th canto. I'll tell you the number. This verse is a very important verse because I want you to remember this verse. 5:11. I think it is 5:11. Last verse 17. Please look up to this verse. Very nice verse. This is Jadabharat giving instruction to Rahugana, King Rahugana. Very important episode. We will discuss this at some point in time, and this is the conclusion. This entire chapter has got 17 verses, less than even our 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which we were trying to discuss yesterday. 20 verses. And all of the 17 verses talk about mind, controlling our own mind. Beautiful verse. I will just Bhratrubhyam enam tad adabhra viryam upekshadhya dhitam apramatah guror hares charano upasana satro jahi vyalikam swayamatma mosham. You see the translation. This uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. If one neglects it or gives it a chance, it will grow more and more powerful and will become victorious. Although it is not factual, it is very strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. O king, please try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Guror Hares Charana Upasana Astraha. Astra, the weapon is Charana Upasana, by hearing, by sincerely following the instruction of Guru. Guror Hares Charana Upasana Astra. The weapon is that. Otherwise, mind is like, as I said, is a restless child. Cannot stay. You see some child, they cannot sit in one place. That's their nature. What can be done? So like that, our mind also behaves like that. And this restless mind, unless it comes to some kind of a steady position, it becomes controlled. We cannot figure out even what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. The mind is restless. So that is why if you see the last line, O king, please try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Last line of this translation, do this with great care. Prabhupada is stressing, do this with great care. Actually, sometimes we don't know really how one is able to control its mind. Sometimes it looks like, really? By following the instructions of spiritual master, I can control my mind? The answer is yes. There is no other way. The more the mind thinks independently, I don't want to listen, I don't want to follow, I don't want to do anything, I'll do my things, the more we are disturbed, the more we are agitated. Prabhupada gives an example in this verse, or in this particular chapter somewhere, like a bumblebee, which is, the size, the body of the bumblebee, the size is very big, but yet it is able to fly with small wings. And how it is able to do that, we don't know, but still it is able to do it. So the wings are like the instructions of spiritual master. If one just follows very strictly, today I got some few doubts regarding this fasting till noon. Can I take this? Can I take that? That's all mind is saying, because our mind is conditioned or is associated with the modes of material nature from time immemorial. So the moment we want to advance in spiritual life, mind puts one doubt, puts something in that this thing. Really? But at that point in time, if we stick on to the instructions given by the spiritual master, we will be able to overcome this. That's why Prabhupada is saying, the conclusion is that obey the orders of spiritual authority and one should stop making plans. Let's go to the next one, because we have this time. Next one is anger. And this is a very interesting story which happens in the Bhagavatam 10th canto. This is mentioned. We were briefly discussing this the other day, where I was telling that Krishna's son, Samba, was actually, he fell in love with Duryodhana's daughter. Was it Duryodhana's daughter? Duryodhana's daughter. What is her name? Lakshmana. Lakshmana? I'm not able to remember her name. I think it is Lakshmana. So,
yes, Prabhuji, Lakshmana.
So he got transported from Dwaraka to Hastinapur. How did it all happen? It's all given very beautifully. Actually, there was some mystical power of one of the friends of Duryodhana's daughter, and she could, bring Samba from Hastinapur. Anyway, the long story short, so Samba was in Hastinapur in the Kuru dynasty, and somehow this Duryodhan didn't like this, and they made him a captive. He was imprisoned, Samba, and then to solve this matter amicably, peacefully, Balaram came from Dwarka. So Balaram came from Dwarka. So Balaram is called Kalimalapaha. He said, I have come here to 10th canto, 68th chapter. This is actually, if you read this, so Balaram is saying that I'm supposed to remove the evils of this misunderstanding and quarrel. So let me go and solve this amicably. And Balaram goes to Hastinapur, and when he goes there, he was very nicely welcomed by the Kuru dynasty. All Dhritarashtra, Bhisma, Drona, Duryodhan, everybody was present. And they welcomed him. And after that, when he told that, you release Samba, they said, well, Samba, he is son of that cowherd Krishna. Krishna is, what is his position? Is an ordinary cowherd man. Something like that they started telling. And till that time, he was silent. He was listening, whatever they were saying. And the moment they started offending Krishna, the moment they started vilifying Krishna, at that time, and they said, we will not release him. So Balaram showed his prowess, his power. He said, I'll drag this city of Hastinapur to River Yamuna. I'll drag it. And he did that. The entire city of, we have heard about something like earthquake, tsunami, but this is something unheard of. The entire city is dragged to River Yamuna. And when he did that, all this Kuru dynasty, all the important members of Kuru dynasty, they brought Samba in front and they came and they fell down in front of Balaram. So, but in this, actually the important things to learn is, Prabhupada mentions in this, which we have to see, is by going along with criticism in absence of a person and without any intention of helping him, we become weak and the mission becomes weak. So what Prabhupada is saying, as long as they were saying something to Balaram, Balaram was tolerant. But the moment they started talking something about Krishna who's not present there, and there are very, very beautiful verses which actually Balaram says about Krishna, who's Krishna, what is his position. And when they were belittling the position of Krishna, when Krishna was not present, immediately he showed his anger. So the important point here is, by going along with criticism in absence of a person, imagine one person is not there, somebody else is criticizing him, right? And we are saying, okay, anyway he's criticizing him, it's okay, I can be just I can listen to him and try to be good with him, so that he becomes pacified, or he becomes he starts doing something favorable to us. But actually that is not the right thing, because Prabhupada is saying, by going along with criticism in absence of a person and without any intention of helping him, we become weak and the mission becomes weak. Our loyalty and faith to Krishna is tested by attacks. Sometimes people vilify and talk ill about the movement, about Krishna consciousness. Our loyalty and faith to Krishna is tested by attacks. So somebody takes to this process of Krishna consciousness, and after some time, some misery comes in his life. Then there will be another relative, oh, you took up to this process of Krishna consciousness, that is why this is coming to you. So our loyalty and faith to Krishna is tested by all these attacks. So at that time, when such things happen, one has to show one's anger. You see, I think I've told this story once earlier. Imagine you've gone to, there is some prasadam being distributed, and you're standing in the queue. So usually the prasadam distribution, there will be a lot of items, and there is a person who's serving on the other side. You are going with the plate, and there are other people also on the line. There are some who are in the front, there are some who are in the back. So you go on this chapati, there is some special rice, some dal, sabji, some juice, and some sweet. Like that, there are different items which are being served. So when you are going, you are asking, okay, give me this little less, this little extra, because you like some things, you don't like some things. So you are having all this, choices you are exercising, and you are moving along. And by the time you come to the end, there is one person who is standing there with a hammer. And so that is non-compromisable. You cannot say that, give it to the person who's behind me. I don't need this. No, no choice. Bang, he'll give you one big bang on your head and you'll start bleeding. So why I'm saying this is, in life, we sometimes are so busy in seeing what all good things we are getting, and we are absorbed in that. Oh, this thing also came in my life. This is also coming. This is so nice. No matter who we are, no matter how big, how small, how whoever we may be, a person who is embodied cannot be freed from this threefold misery. It is bound to come. It's a matter of time when it comes, that hammering. So it is, sometimes it comes immediately, sometimes it comes little later, but it comes. That hammer has to fall on our head. So in those trying circumstances, that is where our faith is tested. Our loyalty and faith to Krishna is tested by this attacks. So by praying to Krishna, actually it is by praying to Balaram, we can remain loyal to Krishna in all times. Because he gives this strength, and he exhibited this in his own life. Not by praying to Krishna, by praying to Balaram, one can remain loyal to Krishna in all times. So that is about anger. Let's go to the next one, greed. This is also another great anartha which affects many of us in this material world. And let's see one more pastime of Balaram killing one more demon. So this is the demon of Dhenukasur. And this demon of Dhenukasur, he was in the form of a donkey who was killed by Balaram. And there were, when he tried to attack Balaram with his hind legs, Balaram just held him with his hand and he swirled him. And in that process only he lost his life. His pranavayu just left. And he threw him on top of a talban, on top of a palm tree. And that tree fell down with other trees. And basically this whole forest of talban was inhabited by these donkeys, and they were not allowing anyone to come. So when Dhenukasura died, there were other donkeys who came and who started attacking Krishna and Balaram, and they had the same destination as that of Dhenukasura. So this Dhenukasura represents the mentality of greed. Mentality of greed is where somebody wants to accumulate everything for himself. He doesn't want to partake this with anyone else. So this is my body, and everything that belongs to me is meant for my enjoyment. Prabhupada very nicely says, this biggest disease of conditioned living entity in this material world is aham mameti. I, and this is mine. Aham mameti. From aham comes mama. So from aham, so I am this person, I am this body, I'm so and so, and all these things that I have accumulated is all are mine, all meant for my enjoyment. So first thing is I am this body, and all that belongs to me is for my enjoyment. That's a very nice verse in the 7th canto, as very nice verse, 7:15-22. You can look for this verse. The translation itself, it says, by making plans with determination, one should give up lusty desires for sense gratification. By making plans with determination, one should give up lusty desires for sense gratification. Similarly, by giving up envy, one should conquer anger. And by discussing the disadvantages of accumulating wealth, one should give up greed. By discussing the disadvantages of accumulating wealth, one should give up greed. And by discussing the truth, one should give up fear. It's a very nice verse, very interesting verse, and a very nice purport also. So if one has to really give up this greed, then Prabhupada is saying, by discussing the disadvantages of accumulating wealth, one should give up greed. And also, the process of giving up greed is Sudhyanti Danaihi, by giving up in charity, by giving one's hard-earned money in charity. Charity for a good cause. Because after all, it doesn't belong to us. Prabhupada writes elsewhere in a purport, money is like a manure. So if you more and more you accumulate, it starts stinking. But the more it is distributed for good cause, then the greed gets removed from the heart, and the money also gets purified. So giving in charity is a very, very important thing. But the tendency is, oh, this money I have earned, this is meant for my satisfaction. I should not give anything to anyone. That is exactly the mentality of Dhenukasura. And this mentality of Dhenukasura of greed was killed by Balaram. Prabhupada says one of the very important thing to control the mind is this quality of satisfaction, being satisfied in life. If mind is like a food, then satisfaction is like a soup. Whatever Krishna has given in whichever way he has kept me, let me be satisfied with that. So this is how to overcome the greed by process of by discussing the disadvantages of accumulating wealth. One should give up greed, and by engaging in charity, Sudhyantihi Danai, one can give up this greed. Let's go to the next one. Probably the last one because we're most of the time. Pride. Another big paripanthino, another big obstacle in our path of devotion. So we spoke about lust, we spoke about anger, we spoke about greed, and the last one is pride. And if you see, um, this 6 sons of Devaki who were killed by Kamsa, they all represent this Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. And only when they go from our heart, and how they go? By the mercy of Guru, which comes, the seventh son is Balaram, who comes, who purifies all these tendencies, all this, anarthas from our heart, then only we can reach to Krishna. So one of the big stumbling block is pride. And this is given in Bhagavatam by this wonderful pastime of Balaram killing this gorilla. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur represents this, or says that this gorilla represents pride. So this gorilla actually is, when Balaram he was engaged in his Rasalila pastime, this gorilla entered there and without telling anything started attacking Balaram, started pulling the dresses of those cowherd girls. And, whatever in the forest, those trees which were there, he started attacking Balaram with these trees. Of course, Balaram with his mace, he could destroy all those things. And finally, when he saw that there is nothing else remaining, no trees, all the trees are uprooted, he started attacking him with his fist, with his hand. But immediately Balaram could kill him. Right? So, one of the things which our acharyas say, why he was having this much of pride, it's a very interesting thing to know. If one offends a great soul, I'm sorry about this. If one offends a great soul, then the result is he gets bad association. So it is mentioned this gorilla he was present in the Treta Yuga, and he offended Lakshmana. And that is how he got the association of Narakasura. And that is how he developed this pride. So it's very important to not to offend a soul, any Vaishnava. Even offending another soul is not right. But if someone offends a Vaishnava, the result is he gets bad association. And that bad association pollutes the consciousness, leading to pride. And by the spiritual strength which comes from Balaram, one can overcome this pride. And the last example that I have here is you can see this picture. It's a very interesting picture. Balaram killing Romaharsana Sutta. So this is, there are the sages and the brahmanas, they had assembled to hear Bhagavatam from Romaharsana Sutta. And Balaram at that time had taken a vow not to hold any weapon. But despite the fact that he had taken this vow, he arrived at that arena, he arrived at that scene. And this person who was seated on the Vyasasana was so proud that he didn't get up from his Vyasasana to pay obeisance, to pay respects to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Balaram himself, who was present. So Balaram just took a small piece of grass, and with that he chopped off his head. He beheaded him with that. So how dangerous is pride? When somebody becomes proud, who feels that without me the service cannot happen, or I am the best person to do this service, nobody else can replace me, nobody else knows how to do this, only I can do this. All are signs of pride and arrogance, and pride comes before a fall. So Romaharsana Sutta was punished for his ignorant position by Balaram. Of course, after that, the sages asked him that he should kill another person called Bilvala and go to pilgrimage and purify his, because he killed this person. He should go on a pilgrimage and bless his son so that this process of Bhagavatam can continue. And Balaram does all those things. Of course, he need not oblige to any of these things, but still he does. because he is also representing. I mean, he's the original Guru Tattva. So he's teaching by his example how to deal with this anarthas, these problems which comes in our life. There's one last verse which I want to quote from Bhagavatam 7, Canto 15, chapter 25th verse. Very, very nice verse. And very powerful instruction. I'm trying to mix some things from here and there. So this is our Utana pastime is coming. So this verse says, Rajas tamascha sattvena sattvam chopasa menacha etat sarvam guru bhaktya purusho hi anjasa jayat. If this last two lines of this verse, if you remember, etat sarvam guru bhaktya purusho hi anjasa jayat. So the translation is, one must conquer the modes of passion and ignorance by developing the mode of goodness. And then one must become detached from the mode of goodness by performing oneself by promoting oneself to the platform of Suddha Sattva. All this can automatically be done if one engages in the service of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. In this way, one can conquer the influence of the modes of nature. You see, in the Bhagavatam, there are two words which are very important to remember. One is called Guna Pravaha. Guna Pravaha is like there is a force of this modes of material nature. Doesn't matter who you are, how strong you are, how long you have been practicing devotion. Sometimes we get influenced by this modes of material nature. And Karma Shraya. And there is our past karma that we have done. They also fructify. The result sometimes comes. So the effect of these two is that sometimes a person may get deviated from the path of devotion. Or sometimes a person may find it difficult to follow even the process of devotion. So the secret is actually revealed here. The secret is given here. Rajas tamascha sattvena. Even if there are these lower modes of material nature trying to influence us, acting on us, if we want to overcome the influence of these modes of material nature, tat sarvam guru bhaktya Itat sarvam guru bhaktya purusho hi anjasa jayat. This can automatically be done if one engages in the service of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. With faith and devotion, if just one follows the spiritual master's instruction, then in this way he can conquer the influence of the modes of nature. So these are some of the important anarthas which are represented by the demons which are by Balaram. Now, on this auspicious day of Balaram Jayanti, we have the deities of Krishna Balaram or Nitai Gauranga. We have the last day of our swing today of Radha Krishna Chandra, and all the Vaishnavas are present. Let's all pray to Lord Balaram to give us that spiritual strength so that our heart gets purified, our heart gets cleansed. Let's not commit some offense to some Vaishnava, because that this whole point of reading this pastime is to live in association of devotees and remain in that platform and engage in devotional service to Krishna. So the prayer on this day to Balaram, because the appearance day of the Lord is very, very auspicious, should be a mood of humility where one should humbly ask that I'm so helpless because of this anarthas which are there within me. Oh Lord, please give me the spiritual strength to overcome this anarthas. Please give me the spiritual strength to remain engaged in your devotional service eternally. Because Balaram represents the original Guru Tattva, and without Balaram's mercy, it is difficult to get Krishna. So on this journey to Janmshtami that we are following, very important to have Balaram's blessings in our life. So let's all pray to Balaram to bless us on this day so that we make advancement to Krishna without any baggage in our heart. Actually, entrance to Vaikuntha is not possible with all the anarthas in our heart. One has to be cleansed of this anarthas. One has to be purified of this. Otherwise, as we saw in the beginning, tau hi asya paripantino. These are all stumbling blocks. So let's all pray together to Balaram on this day to give us the spiritual strength to purify us from all these anarthas and to remain engaged in devotional service. Now we will have Arati and Julan for Radha Krishna, the last day. You can join us, and tomorrow we will resume our journey, the 18th day, journey to Janmshtami. Hare Krishna. There is one interesting announcement I want to make before we go for our Balaram Jayanti celebration. We will have Arati. We will have Arati to Nitai Gauranga. You can witness that, and we will have also Julan for the Lord. You can see that. The announcement is for our Janmshtami 2020, which is going to be live on 11th August 2020. There are many surprises, as I said. So even though this is going to be a digital celebrations, there are many wonderful, powerful, qualified, accomplished people who are going to perform, do some cultural activities. So one I'm just sharing with you right now. So there is going to be a professor from Berkeley School of Music, Berkeley College of Music, who's going to chant Hare Krishna mantra on his piano. So look forward to that on the day of Janmashtami. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Nitai Gauranga ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So before we go, can I request all of you to kindly come in front of your camera and raise your hands? We will do Hare Krishna mantra once and then we'll go with the celebration. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Ram Jayanti Maha Mahotsav ki, Gaur Anande. We will have some kirtan and arati for Radha Krishna. This side, this side. With Prabhupada, and then we'll. So how do we're going to go live? We're going live. Just be a little patient. We're just setting it up. I know the last time there was some issues. Once you confirm that you're able to hear the audio, then we will. We'll share. You can share. Is the sound audible? The sound of
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
all right. Divine Grace, Abhay Charnavadanda, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON Sansthapakarya, Savior of the whole world, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Jayan Vishnupada Paramahansa Nityalila Pravishta, His Divine Grace, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Sat Goswami Prabhu ki, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki, Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki, Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki, Jagannath Puri Kshetra ki, Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai ki, Vrinda Devi Tulasi Maharani ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Chandra ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Balaram Jayanti Maha Mahotsav ki, Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga ki, Shri Srinivas Govind ki, Shri Prahlad Narsimha Deva ki, Samavita Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Harinam Sankirtan ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees.
All glories and glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna. So we'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you for joining. Happy Balaram Jayanti.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
screen